Dear Chavedim, a gute Woche, a gesunte Woche. We are standing Motzoi Shabbos, Parshas Ki Seitzei, already the second week in the month of Elul. There obviously must be a tremendous connection between one of the many mitzvahs that we read about, that we lived with in this week's Parsha, to the general theme and to the general avodah of the month of Elul. In this week's Parsha, we learned the mitzvah of Bein Soirer Umayra, the halachas regarding the stubborn and rebellious son, a very difficult mitzvah to understand at first glance. The Torah tells us that if you have a youngster, technically he has to be bar mitzvah, but not more than 13 years and 3 months. So a very small window of time, that if this youngster, God forbid, is so indulging in eating tremendous amounts of meat and of wine that he is already robbing and stealing from his parents and from people in order to supply his addiction. So then there are a couple of steps. The final one is that his parents bring him to the great Sanhedrin, and this youngster is stoned to death. And the Gemara already mentions that all of the preconditions for this mitzvah to actually happen is so limiting that such an event never happened in the past and it will never happen in the future. Nevertheless, we have to look and learn this mitzvah. And the biggest question is, even though that we have capital punishment in the Torah, for example, if God forbid, let's say Reuven murders Shimon, then Reuven is put to death. But for any type of violation that does not warrant a capital punishment, God forbid, to kill someone. Here you have someone, it's horrible that he's addicted to meat and to wine. It's horrible that he's stealing and he's robbing people to feed his addiction, for which we have punishments. There's punishments for armed robbery, v'chulei, v'chulei. But to go ahead and to kill him for something that does normally not warrant a death penalty, hayitachin. So Rashi, to answer this question, says that you're right. He is not getting killed for anything that he has already done. Eloma nerag al shem soifai. He's getting killed for that which he will do. In other words, since he's addicted to meat and to wine, and he's already down a very dark path, inevitably, for sure, he will end up killing someone, God forbid, in order to feed his addiction. So why wait for him first, God forbid, to murder, and then to react towards it by sentencing him to capital punishment, to death? Kill him right away. So says Rashi. And the obvious question on Rashi's statement is, where else do we find such a thing in the Torah? Al Shem Soifai. Do we know for sure that he for sure will murder? Don't we believe in freedom of choice? Furthermore, even for the misbehavior that he has engaged in until now, is there not tshuva? Who says he's going to get worse? Maybe he's going to get better. That's kasha number one. Then a kasha number two. These are the famous classical questions. The Gemara in Sanhedrin Daf Pei Ches says explicitly that a bein soirer umayra, that if his father and his mother want to forgive him, they can forgive him, and he's exempt from the punishment. And here everyone asks, well, let's go with Rashi. If he's getting punished, al shem soifai. If he's getting punished because he will for sure kill in the future. So what does it help that his parents forgive him? He's not getting killed because of his parents' anger towards him. No, their forgiveness should be completely irrelevant. So the Shem Mishmuel answers one question with the other. He says that's the key. And he introduces a concept that the reason why every Yid always has the koyach to do tshuva, no matter how many mistakes one has made up until now, that koyach is given to us because we have a neshama. And this neshama is given to us because we are Bnei Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yankov, and we are the descendants of Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah. It is by the very fact that we are yet another link in this glorious chain, it is this that gives us the koyach to always better our ways. It is this that gives us the koyach that never can it be said on a Yid that for sure they're going to make a mistake. Who knows? Adarabba. Let's say for sure you'll do tshuva. Masha'en came, God forbid, if parents give up on their children, if the parents disconnect themselves from their children because of mistakes or horrible mistakes that their children made, it is this disconnect that takes away the koyach of the child to access their neshama. And once they are disconnected from this chain, by the parents' doing, because of the parents' reaction towards their current misbehaviors, now indeed, there comes a point in a very rare circumstance that that individual cannot do tshuva. For sure, they're going to get even worse, and therefore there is a concept that nerag al shem soifei. In other words, the koyach that parents have, by loving their children unconditionally, even in a circumstance where the child is doing like the Ben Seder Omaida is doing. It is the very fact that the parents somehow manage to see the goodness in their child and never to disconnect from their child. This is what gives their child the koyach to do the tshuva. And therefore, the Gemara says in Sanhedrin, such a child may not be killed. Because indeed, who says he's going to get worse? Adarabba, he'll do tshuva and he'll become a tzaddik, he'll become a bal tshuva. I would like to share a powerful story that Rabbi Simon Jacobson shares in his Meaningful Life Institute, in his organization that emphasizes on the emes that every human being is put here by Hashem and given a unique mission. And therefore, every human being is given unique talents and koiches for him or for her to be able to fulfill something that only they are meant to fulfill and only they have to fulfill. And he was speaking about this to a large group of people, and he was elaborating. He was speaking about the fact that even if you have someone that, God forbid, has a handicap or many handicaps, and they look to be, so to say, deficient in certain areas, for sure, in other areas, not only are they not handicapped, but they are gifted, and they have, again, their unique talent to fulfill their unique mission. And it is our responsibility to look into ourselves and to help those who live around us to find our unique talents and therefore to better figure out what is my unique mission that only I have to and will fulfill with the life that God gifted me. So he was giving that talk, and in the group there was someone that was visually taka handicapped. It was a person that had motor skill challenges. And after the class, he was very moved, and he walked over slowly. And when he began to speak to Rabbi Jacobson, it became apparent that he also had a speech impediment. He was stuttering, and he began to share his story. His story is that he was born with a certain disorder, with a certain illness. And obviously his parents, by the advice of those around him, felt that the best was to give him to an institution. He should be raised by an institution that is equipped to raise a child with these types of physical impediments. His parents were extremely wealthy. They gave a lot of money to that institution, and therefore he defined himself, he saw himself as a privileged orphan. He never met his parents. He was never meant to know who his parents are, but the orphanage or that institution really treated him with special privileges. And he was a very edela, very refined person. He was very moved by the talk. And he asked Rabbi Jacobson to help him figure out what are his unique talents. He never saw that in himself. He always saw in himself a person with a lot of handicaps, to the point that his parents decided that they cannot raise him, and they gave him up, and they gave him away. Now, this young man was very gifted. He was very curious. And before this engagement with Rabbi Jacobson, he already somehow discovered who his parents are and where they live, but he never dreamt of reaching out to connect to them. He developed a relationship with Rabbi Jacobson, and Rabbi Simon decided that it is his mission to reunite the parents and this young man. And he knew from the beginning that such a reunion will be transformational, both for the parents and for the child and for this now young man. And it's a long story how he reached out to them, how initially they were very upset at them being reached out by the stranger. They had put this to rest many years ago. It was very unsettling. Rabbi Jacobson, who managed really not to be judgmental at all with the parents, because of that certainly got through to them. And after many months of work, finally they secured a time. And the place was in the home of the parents, where this young man was going to meet his parents for the first time. At that point, even though initially they were very upset with Rabbi Jacobson, they actually, all parties, the parents and the young man and the son, wanted him to be there, just to somehow make them feel calmer and to help them manage the tension and the anxiety that all parties here were feeling. And the big day came. Rabbi Jacobson took this young man there. And they entered this beautiful home, and the table was set beautifully, and the first exchanges were very pleasant, but very external. Obviously, there was a lot of tension that people were keeping inside. And after a few moments, when the conversation was not getting deeper where it needed to get, Rabbi Jacobson stands up, and he tells the parents that the truth is that I'm the stranger here. I don't even belong here. But he told the parents that you should know that it must be that there are some deep buried feelings inside your son's heart. Feelings of abandonment, perhaps even feelings of anger, but he's not even aware of it. And he began to tell the parents that this young man, your son, is from the most refined and special people that I have ever met. And with that, he was planning to leave the room, allowing that which needed to happen to finally come to the forefront and for there to be a real connection between parents and a child. Before Rabbi Jacobson managed to leave, the young man, for the first time, spoke to his parents, addressing them as mommy and daddy. But he had a stutter. So until he got those words out, but he said, mommy and daddy. And he tells them that and he repeated the I many times, I am not perfect. But you know what? He tells his parents, you are not perfect either. Then he went on to say that I forgive you, even though you're not perfect. And he asks his parents, can you forgive me for not being perfect as well? And with that, he burst out in tears, as did everyone else in that room. And I think this encapsulates really the message of the Ben Seder Umayra, and a tremendously important theme that all of us should be working upon in this month of Elul. Parents have such a koyach that when parents manage to forgive their children in spite of the fact that their children are not perfect, this empowers them so much. This really makes all the difference in the world. And this is our responsibility to our children. And at the same time, we have the right as children of Hashem to reach out to God. Of course, a big part of the month of Elul is our responsibility to better our imperfections. We have to do that. It's on us. But at the same time, we are children of Hashem. And therefore, during the month that Hashem is more available, Melech Basada, when we can reach the King, now is the time, like the Rebbe taught us, for us to tell God that, God, you have to forgive our imperfections. Because when Hashem does so in a revealed way, that in itself empowers us to do a real tshuva. That we can argue and say that the fact that we are not yet the way we should be, that's because we are not yet as connected to God, and that's on God as well. And this is our tefillah, and this is our hope, that we tell the Eibishter that you have to accept us, and you have to love us in a revealed way, because the more we will feel the connection that our Father, that Avinu Malkeinu has towards us, without doubt, the more empowered we are, the better of the tshuva we will do, and without doubt that we, for our children, we will love them unconditionally. And Hashem is going to reciprocate, and Hashem is going to finally reveal himself to us, and this will be the real month, the real Melech Basada that we're going to see, V'sachazenu einenu, how Hashem, as our King, is going to come back to us with the revelation of Mashiach Tzidkenu. May that happen right now, Chavra. Amen. Una gute, una gesunte Woche.